Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Meet the Collector. This episode I spoke with Mitch from Retro Rummage, and yeah, I mean he does things a little bit differently. But what I've got to say, I mean, an absolutely incredible collection, and yeah, I mean, let's just get into it. Okay, so welcome to another edition of Meet the Collector. In this episode, we've got Mitch from Retro Rummage. Nice to meet you, Mitch. How you doing?
Nice to meet you as well, mate. Thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it. Yeah, all good. Bit hot in this room today, as I was just saying earlier, but
Yeah,
apart from that, all good.
cool. So we'll just start off. Just give us a little bit of an intro, a little bit about yourself, kind of how you kind of got into collecting, and sort of where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Well, how I got into, I mean, I've been collecting on and off for about five, maybe even longer than that. Maybe 6 or 7 years, but very, very sporadically. I wasn't taking it serious for a long time. Most of the time I was just going to car boot sales and looking to buy PlayStation 1 games because anyone who watches my channel knows that PlayStation 1, that's my baby. Obviously, I do collect for PlayStation 2 as well as the Nintendo GameCube, which I've just started collecting for recently.
Mm.
But PlayStation 1 is where my heart and my passion is, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was looking online. I bought, like, for example, my PlayStation boxed. I bought that online. I've got a box Time Crisis. I bought that on eBay. I was looking on eBay, looking to snipe things on the cheap. Um, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, you could get stuff for a little bit cheaper. Well, quite a bit cheaper than what it is now, but still
Yeah,
not, still not very, very cheap. So I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna hit the boot sales. Probably 10 years too late
yeah,
to get anything decent. But yeah, I was going to boot sales for not like I go now, but maybe at least once a month for maybe you know 6 months to a year, picking up the odd game here. Like, I don't know, James Bond, The World's Not Enough.
mm,
Just filler and fodder titles, sort of thing. I never, once found anything worth decent money for cheap, if that makes sense. Um, and yeah, basically, just through doing that, I kind of stumbled across the whole, I don't know, boot sale scene, if you want to call it that,
mm,
on
mm.
YouTube. Started watching other resellers in a whole, people like I don't know if you watch resellers on eBay, on YouTube, sorry.
Yeah. I watch a few. Yeah,
But I think George from Retro Reselling, I started watching him.
yeah.
I think he's got about like 25,000
That's
subscribers
mental.
now.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
mental. Yeah.
I started watching him. I can say I was definitely there from less than 5,000
Mm.
subscribers, sort of thing. And obviously the YouTube algorithms kick in, you get recommended more people. And I stumbled across, I think it was, yeah, Ed Hunt. Shout out to Ed Hunt, obviously, if you don't watch him. Yes, started watching his channel, noticed that he was going to boot sales and buying stuff to trade in at CEX.
Yeah.
And obviously, this was just like a brand new concept to me. It
Hmm.
weren't really something that I'd even thought of. And to be honest, I remember saying to my girlfriend when I was going to the boot sales, however many years ago, I was saying, if I was collecting for Xbox 360, I'd be laughing. There's just games, all over the show, but I was just leaving them at that point.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, anyway, long story short, I realized obviously you can buy games for cheap, trade them into CEX for credit, and obviously buy PlayStation 1 games. So well, that's obviously what I started out doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just went from there. I think I was doing it for maybe like a month or so before I even thought about starting YouTube. And yeah, I just thought, yeah, like I said, I was watching Ed Hunt's,
Mm.
and I just thought, do you know what? I don't think there's anyone doing that in my area, like where I live. I think Ed, he lives over South London, Kent way, I
There's a
believe.
big movement Essex way and all that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, let me clarify. What I mean is, I don't think there's any YouTubers doing what
Right.
I'm doing
Yeah.
around my way, sort of thing. Never seen anyone with a GoPro or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I just thought I'm going to give it a go. And yeah, the rest is history. Obviously, as you probably saw today, I'm doing a giveaway. My channel is 1 year old, I believe, on the 17th of July, which was 2 days ago, I think, something like that. So to be at 3,200 subscribers at this point is mental.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've said many a time before, if I would have been over the moon if I had 1,000
Yeah,
subscribers
absolutely.
under the
Mm.
year, within the year. So obviously, feel very grateful that everyone tunes in every week and watches me. So yeah, it's just been really, really good.
That's brilliant. I mean, I've got to say, yeah, like I say, I'm a big fan. I watched the channel. I've seen it from, I remember like sort of like, when you started out, the kind of like the early days,
Mhm.
and it's something, it's a concept. A lot of people do it now, don't they? A lot of people are
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
the sort of trade-in, CEX trade-in stuff. Um, I don't. I haven't. It's not something that I've done. I'm
Yeah.
more of a kind of eBay flip, get the
Mhm.
cash, and then do it that way. Um, I, I I go to CEX. You know what I mean? I go in the shop and I'll have a look around, and if something takes my fancy, then I might buy it there and then. But I've not. It's not something I've done. But I'm just started to, based off of like what you guys do, and there's a couple of other channels.
Mhm.
I've just started putting a little pool of items aside,
Yeah.
and then I've got a couple of PS4 controllers that are nice, and I've just got a bit of a haul over the weekend. I've broken some of that down, and I think I'm going to take some in and do the old CEX credit, but
Yeah,
um,
definitely. I mean, CX is one of them shops where if you're into retro gaming, you're going to be involved with it.
yeah, yeah,
They have a massive influence, should we say, on the current market
yeah,
um, of retro games, and maybe to a certain extent, what we do within terms of trading in and getting the vouchers probably adds to the inflation because like I've bought games for hundreds of pounds in
yeah.
vouchers. Um, and obviously, I would never be able to afford to do that without
No,
CEX.
no,
But at the same time, CEX are still thinking, well, people are buying those games for
yeah.
400 sort of thing. So it's kind of like your hands forced to use them, but at the
Mm.
same time, it's probably having a negative a
But I
negative
think
impact.
that's part of it now, isn't it? I mean, because
Yeah.
that's why I like your channel as well, because it's a similar kind of like I like to do the kind of flipping stuff in order to
Mm,
buy stuff, right? I know a lot of people doing it now, because for me, who in their right mind, right? And let's
mm.
be honest, unless you're mega wealthy, who
Yeah,
in their right mind is going to go out and spend 400 quid on a PlayStation 1 game that's pretty average anyway? No one's going
yeah,
to do
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
I completely agree.
we've got to kind of like utilize the sort of the reselling and the trading market and everything like that. And I think it's a good way of doing it. I'm a fan, like you say, but and it is an important store for us all. We all use it.
Mhm.
Everyone uses CX, but and I don't want to sort of like slag them off too much, but they could improve themselves. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the amount of times I watch, like one of your videos, one of the other guys' videos, you play the old game, you play the old
Yeah,
gamble and
all
that,
that.
and over 50% of the times it's completely garbage and it's a send back job. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think they could improve. I don't know how, but do you know what I mean? They
Yeah,
could
yeah,
do a
no,
bit
definitely.
better on their
There are things
descriptions and stuff.
that they can do to improve. Unfortunately, I think that the problem, and obviously where we're so, what's the word, engrossed or within retro games, that
Yeah,
in our mind we're like, oh, they need to improve what they're doing with the retro games, but probably in CX's mind they don't care. It's such a
no,
small part of their business. I mean,
yeah,
I spoke to people at my local store, and they were saying that, like for example, their monthly sales, retro gaming accounts for like 2% of it.
that's mad, isn't it?
Do you
Well,
know
you
what I
probably
mean?
think that's the most part of it because that's all
Yeah,
we're in. I expect it's things like mobile phones and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that that we're not even bothering looking at. Yeah,
yeah. I think it's obviously mobile phones,
yeah,
and then electricals, and then obviously cut. I think it's current games,
right.
Blu-rays, and then obviously it goes like DVDs and retro. So
Yeah,
such a
yeah, yeah.
small part of their business that for us, we love it. We want them to improve but they're probably just sitting there thinking they're happy with how it's going at the moment, which is unfortunate, but no.
It's the way it is, isn't it? So
unfortunately.
one of the things I want to kind of like talk about, and that is what I think, kind of like separates you from a lot of other collectors, myself included,
Mhm.
is that you, from what I can see anyway, from what the content that I've watched and some of the stuff you've posted on Instagram and stuff like that, is you're really kind of focused on just mainly the games that you want. And I've got to say, some real big hitters in your sort of collection.
Yeah,
You may not have the full wall, like
yeah.
running out of shelving and everything like that. But in terms of the quality and the titles that you go after, you sort of approach things a little bit differently. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
no,
fair?
definitely. Yeah, yeah, no, completely agree. Fair to say. Yeah, I mean, I, f- I think when you collect, everyone collects how they want to collect at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Not, I know that there's not a lot of people that want to go out to the boot sales and do what I'm doing, and they're happy to build a collection of, you know, easier games to obtain, shall we say.
Mm.
Um, for me, obviously, my passion is games that I've wanted as a kid. There's a game here that I'm going to talk about a little bit later with you that
Mm.
was probably the reason that I got into collecting PlayStation 1 games and stuff like that. But we'll touch on that later. But yeah, definitely, I only look for games that I'm either interested in playing in. And I'm not ashamed to say that there are games that I want in my collection for bragging rights. At the end of the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
like when you, I mean, this is how I would explain it anyway. Is when you was a kid and you're collecting Pokemon cards and stuff like that.
Mm.
You especially Pokemon cards because let's be honest, no one played, no one played
No,
the game
I don't
Pokemon.
understand. I don't understand the game. Yeah.
Everyone just wanted Charizard to say, yeah, I've got
You've
Charizard
got
in my
one. Yeah.
collection.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And I'm not too ashamed to say that. I've said many a times that I'm a collector before I'm a gamer. And yeah, like there's a good handful of games in my collection that I've just got for bragging rights, should we say?
Mm.
But
Mm.
I'm definitely only passionate about the games that I want. I
Mm.
wouldn't. There's many games that I've left at boot sales and stuff like that, like PlayStation 1 games, just because I'm not interested in them. Like for example, driving games.
Yeah.
Not interested in them one bit.
No.
They don't
Yeah.
interest me. I don't know why. Just
Mm.
don't. So
Mm.
I've picked up lots of sorry, I've left lots of driving games for PlayStation 1 that I could have got for a couple of quid or something, but I just don't want them on my shelf. I know I'm not going to play them, and there's no
No.
point. I'd rather it go to someone who's interested in it. Like I picked up Kaido Racer 2, which is a arcade racer on the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
Never actually heard of it until I saw it out in the wild. But yeah, I ended up flipping that on just because I didn't want to keep it in my collection. I'd rather
Yeah.
someone else who's passionate about that have it in their collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Obviously, like I was saying earlier, PlayStation 1 is my baby. I have, branched into PlayStation 2 because as everyone, who didn't have a PlayStation 2 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the console that I've got into as an adult is obviously the Nintendo GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not interested in collecting for that like I do the PlayStation 1. Like I've got no interest in getting, for example, I know that there's like a Pokemon game on the
Yeah.
GameCube. It's 200 and something quid.
Yeah.
There's like a Kirby game that's like three,
Yeah.
400, something like that. Got no interest in getting those titles. I'm more just interested in getting the cheaper one, should we say? Still, like for example, the games that I've got at the moment, like Mario Brothers,
Mm.
Super Smash Brothers, Brawls, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion. Um, I think probably the most expensive game that I probably want on the GameCube is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Okay.
Just because I think it'd be cool to play like I think it's technically classed as like a remake or a remaster or
Right.
something
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the first one on the
Mm-hmm.
GameCube. So I think it'd be cool to play that. But um, so yeah, but what I've kind of done with or told myself with the GameCube is that I'm only going to get these games either in the wild
Mm.
or because obviously in the summer, sorry, in the winter, boot sales are not on as much.
Mm.
I try to go and do like road trips to other CEX stores and stuff like that. I've told myself that I just want to get those games in the wild because they're not like rare games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
silly little challenge that I've set for myself. It's not
Mm.
like there's rules to it or anything like that.
Mm.
But that's how I'm going to make it interesting for myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I I saw the video when you mentioned about the GameCube, and I was kind of sort of it's a bit like because I've started sort of I've just got another kind of console, and
Mhm.
it's I'm a little bit like that now. I don't know whether to go try and build up a kind of a healthy collection for it, or be a bit more kind of selective. Do you know what I mean? And just
Yeah, yeah.
pick sort of a handful even just of good quality tiles that are going to get used. I mean, so when I mean, because like mine growing up was like the
Mhm.
Mega Drive. When I was a
Mhm.
kid, it was sort of Mega Drive. Obviously, there was some before that,
Yeah.
going way back to sort of like microcomputers, like Spectrums,
Mhm.
Commodores, and stuff like that. But kind of like my main childhood sort of nostalgia was sort of like Mega Drive. So I've
Mhm.
started buying up not only games that I did have, but also games that I kind of wanted to have, or like my mates might have had, or do you know what I mean? That sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so you talk about like the PlayStation One. Was that
Mhm.
kind of like your? Did you kind of grow up with the PlayStation One? Then
Well,
is that kind of why
I'm
you sort of drawn to
yeah. I
that?
mean, I'm 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 35, so I caught the back end of 16. But I mean, so my console history was me and my brother. We had a Master System, Mega Drive, and then PlayStation One. But
Right.
I think PlayStation One was kind of where I really got into gaming, if that makes
Mm,
sense. So
mm,
although I've got very fond memories of the Mega Drive playing like Lion King, getting PTSD over the Stampede level, and James Pond stuff like that.
yeah.
It's not got like a place in my heart, but I've got so many memories as being like, and especially when you get to that age where like 9, 10, 11, sort of 12, that's when
Mm,
memories kind of you have like more vivid memories, shall we say.
yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
um and yeah, that's it. Just with all collecting and retro stuff, it plays on the nostalgia
Of
heartstrings, shall
course
we
it does.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mm,
yeah, that's where it come from. It Don't get me wrong, I love um I love like the Mega Drive and stuff like that. And
mm,
I have thought about collecting for it in the past, but it, I haven't. It's not been an itch that I've wanted to scratch just yet.
yeah.
But we may see in the future. But where I'm different as well from maybe some other collectors is, and as you said on earlier, I mean, you can see my games in the background. I'm not wall to wall
Mm,
games, if that makes sense. And for me personally, I'm a little bit. I mean, I know I was talking about how my room was a little bit messy when when we were setting up the cameras, but
yeah.
I'm a little bit OCD with how I have things, and I like, because I spend a lot of time in this room, I like it to be like a nice space, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Mm,
rather just like a storage room.
no. Yeah.
So that's me personally. Now I've got not got anything against people that have got wall to wall games. It's
Mm.
entirely, up to
Oh, I can understand. I'm
their own sort of thing.
thinking way more about, already. I mean, I haven't been doing this that long, and I can kind of see where people are when they sort of say about, trimming down and,
Mhm.
niching down a little bit. I'm not at that stage yet, but I kind of, you totally get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally
My,
get it.
my friend Scott from Marathon Gaming. I don't know if you've seen him.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I've been on his channel a couple of
Mm,
times. He has like a really good concept, or whatever you want to call it. It's more of like a rotation system. He'll have a couple of shelves
mm,
for the games that he's got for each console.
mm,
Um, and every now and then he'll just have a clear out. Go, right, I'm not going to play that anymore. I don't. I've got that. I
mm,
don't like it.
mm,
I'm going to move that on, and he'll go and trade all of those in, and then obviously refill that shelf with
mm.
other games for the same console, um, until he gets to a stage where he thinks, oh, that's enough now, and he rinse and repeat, he does it again.
Yeah,
So
oh,
it's
that's good.
a
Yeah.
good idea,
Mm.
because at the end of the day, again, all power to them, but people, like, for example, go for like a full power set.
Oh, amazing. Unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know how they do it. Yeah.
to a certain extent, it's like, what is the point? Because,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
but
that's
then
just the
again,
collecting part, though, isn't it? You like you
yeah,
say,
yeah,
we're collectors first, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
gamers second. I mean, I don't play. Bloody hell, there's no way on earth 99% of these would never come out of the case. You know,
yeah,
I'm 45, family, kids, work. You know, what I mean, I don't even. At the time I do get to play gaming is a little. You know, I want a little hour just chilled out on my own somewhere. I'm going to play something that I really want to play, and I'm probably going
yeah.
to just try and finish it, and that could take a month. Whereas other
Mm.
people might do it in about 2 or 3 nights, but that's just the way I like to do it. Do you know what I mean? And then once I've done that, I might move on to something else. You know, the kids are all playing on their Xboxes or Fortnite or anything like that. They're not really interested in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's kind of like I think it's just like you said,
yeah.
we're sort of collectors first, really, aren't we? But
And each their own. I suppose
yeah,
maybe it looked like some, touching on what I said earlier about bragging rights and stuff like that. You know, I might people might think I'm silly saying, I've got this game, it's really rare, it's worth X amount.
mm.
But then other people are like, well, yeah, I've got a full PAL set for the NES or,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
NES sort of thing. And which is, that is something to brag about at the end of the day. But,
absolutely.
you're going to have a load of games in there that you're never probably going to play. Sort of thing.
Absolutely
So
not. No,
everyone
there's
wants their
something.
own kind of bragging
Yeah,
rights.
there's something about the sort of the kind of like in a weird kind of way. There's something about. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's quite nice to just kind of have them. You know what I mean? Just have something physical. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I just hold it and like, oh yeah, I remember this game. Never play it, but you know what I mean. Then just put it back on the shelf. It's a weird thing. Maybe that is just me.
Yeah, no, I completely.
Pretty
So
to other people.
I'm waiting for like Lord of the Rings to come over and start going,
Yeah,
my precious.
that's it. Yeah.
But
Um,
no, yeah, I completely agree.
so okay, so let's move on to some of the titles then. So I mean, some of the titles you've got, you know, unbelievable. Obviously, I won't mention them now. I'll let you do the
Yeah, yeah,
talking.
of
But
course.
so you want to sort of go through kind of like, I mean, I don't know where do you want to start? I mean, you must have kind of like a top three or something like that of like your sort of prized possessions. If you
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say. Obviously, if we was to go through like my most expensive games,
yeah,
obviously you've got. Well, I did actually get it out, but I've got a Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
and that
Now,
was a CEX, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, my whole
Because you
collection.
didn't have a bad run, did you? Of like
No,
decent,
yeah,
amazing
yeah,
quality,
yeah.
like
My whole collection is through CEX.
all
They're
CEX, right?
Well,
Okay.
okay, that's obviously an exaggeration, but I would say like at least 95% of it. And any
All right.
game over maybe even 30, £40 was got through CEX. It's only the
Well, I mean,
cheaper.
what an amazing store CEX is. We were just saying that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of people hate CEX. I love it because it's gives me the opportunity to build such a good collection.
It's one shop where you'll be able to get all that stuff in it, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Full disclosure, it does only have the manual. It doesn't have. There's like an artwork book that goes.
Oh,
I didn't get that unfortunately in
that's got
this.
to be available, eBay or something like that,
Well,
surely.
I've been looking, but someone has told me that the art book in the PAL version and the Japanese version, the NTS, whatever it's
Yeah,
called,
yeah,
it was NTSC, whatever.
yeah.
It's the exact same. So if I wanted to, I could go out and buy the Japanese copy off of eBay. They're normally on there for about like £80 or £90, something like that. Take the manual out of it, and then I could sell the game again for maybe 60, 70
60 or
pounds.
something. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the manuals that thing's only cost me £20, but I'm not.
You're probably gonna have to do it.
Yeah, I
I
will
think
do
you
it.
probably are. You probably are gonna have to do it.
I will do it eventually, but I'm in no rush at the minute. But
No.
that is something I've got to do further down the line.
Mm.
And then what else? I think
That's got to be up there. Is that? I mean, I don't know. That's got to be. That's
yeah. So I
surely
think
that's
now,
one of the PS1 grails, isn't it?
yeah, I think this is the second most expensive
Right.
PlayStation 1 game, as far as I'm aware, in obviously used and playable condition. So I
Yeah, yeah.
believe this, if you wanted to buy it from CX, complete. Well, no, sorry, yeah. If you wanted to buy it from CX, I think it's about £455 now.
Right.
I think when I got it, it was maybe like £415, £420.
Okay.
in vouchers. Obviously, I paid for that. That probably cost me, I would say, about £120. So it's still a lot of money for a game that I've spent money on. But the way I look at it is
So what do
obviously
you
I
mean? So in terms of what you've bought
yeah,
for
and
the
then
for the cost you've spent for it at car boots or whatever, and then you've
yeah.
traded it in for right.
Yeah, because well, one thing maybe a little bit different about me from other YouTubers and maybe even yourself to a certain extent is I know that a lot of people they like to build like a free gaming collections. You know,
Mm,
like they'll
mm,
start with £10, go out and buy and flip from there sort of thing. Whereas
yeah.
me personally, I don't have many hobbies in my life, so I give myself a budget of maybe 100 to £120 a month to spend at the boot sales.
And
You
then
know,
yeah.
30, 40 quid a week or whatever.
Hmm.
And then obviously whatever I can get from that is what I get from that. So it's not, I know I'll never sit here and say I got all of that for free. It's, but I would say anything from
Probably
maybe,
20% of the price, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've
yeah,
significantly
maybe
less.
twenty
Yeah.
twenty five percent of the price, something
Mm,
like that is
mm.
what it cost me. But yeah,
And we're just custodians. Do you know what I mean? We're just holding you that
that's
shelf. That's just a shelf full of sort of
history.
money and wealth there, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I keep telling my missus, I'm like, yeah, that's our retirement
It's
sitting there.
fine. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I say. It's fine.
But
It's like just sort of moving money around, isn't it? Doesn't
yeah,
matter. Yeah.
but I think, yeah, this is as far as I'm aware, this is the second most expensive, which is about £455. And this is a pretty decent game. I think it got slammed in its time. I mean, that's the reason for the price of this is that obviously this is like a 2D platformer, should we say?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not
When they were
too,
good, when platformers were the best, that's the best
yeah,
way to play platformers, right?
but obviously when PlayStation One came around, people wanted more. They wanted the 3D
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this and that. People wanted to leave that behind. So
Hmm.
obviously, not only now that we've come, 20, 30 years into
Almost
the
full
future,
cycle. Yeah, they're doing it again now on like the PS4s and fives, aren't they? They're going back. Yeah.
they're doing it all because obviously we
Mm,
can appreciate that
mm,
graphics aren't everything, and it's more about good gameplay. And
mm.
that's what, and obviously the fact that it's Castlevania, great franchise, but that's why this demands, shall we say, a higher price because obviously at the time it didn't sell a lot. I read somewhere whether or not this is 100% true, but I believe in the PAL version of this, I believe they only sold about 15,000 copies.
All
So if you,
right.
and obviously this was an early release on I think it was 1997 that this come out or 1998 on
Mm.
the PlayStation. So how many copies are left today from those 15,000 is you know
Yeah.
and
Not
that's
going to be
obviously
many, is it? No.
but the most expensive PlayStation 1 game that I'm aware of is Cindy's Fashion World, which
Wow.
is, yeah, it's about £500. And that,
Jesus Christ. That must be just because of the rarity.
yeah,
I mean, it sounds awful.
it's a terrible game. I've actually never seen one come into stock in CEX. Whether or not I would buy it or not, I don't know. So again, I'm not that kind of collector. I,
No.
I do only want to buy games that I would actually play. But I've seen one on eBay once for £800 because
Bloody
obviously I
hell.
always tend to find that the more expensive games are always that little bit more on eBay compared
Mm.
to CEX. But anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there. But after this one, I think my second most expensive game is Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the PlayStation 2. Do you want me to grab it or?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I've grabbed my top four, should we say? Is that sun okay? It's not too
Yeah, it's
bright.
absolutely fine. Yeah, yeah.
Um. So yeah, sorry. As I was saying, I've got Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the PlayStation 2.
Nice.
This is the Is that BBFC or BBOFC? British Board of something or another certification. So obviously you have that version where it basically says 15, 18,
Yeah.
and then the one before it, which I believe, or sorry, the one after it is the Peggy rating.
Ah, right. Oh, okay.
So this one is the more expensive of them.
Right, just because of that.
Yeah, just because of that.
Yeah.
Obviously with the manual. When I bought this, I believe I paid in vouchers again 275, but I think it's again crept up a little bit to £295 in CX vouchers. So again, another very expensive game. I think
They're big. They're a big franchise, aren't they? Silent Hills. Loads of people try and like collect the full Silent Hill sets and everything. Don't they? It's quite
yeah.
a sort of popular one.
So obviously, I believe that this game originally came out on the PSP,
Oh right.
and then they released it on the PlayStation 2 afterwards. So I think it come, later on. I'm trying to look if I can see a year on it. It come later on in the PlayStation cycle. So I mean, it says 2010 on the back of it. So whether or not that's when it come out, because yeah, I think they was releasing
That's
games.
quite late, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
that's what.
quite late in the PS2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so how many people would have bought
Okay.
that when
Yeah.
when I think PlayStation 3 was out and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Mm.
and again, it just goes back to people appreciating good games on old consoles now, whereas in the moment they're like, I want,
Yeah,
PlayStation.
they've already moved on and whatever.
Yeah,
Innit? Yeah. Mm.
exactly that. And then my next two most expensive games are both from the Mega Man universe, shall we say. Um, First one is Misadventures of Trombone. Yeah, these are games that knew nothing about as a child. Never heard of them. It's only as an adult looking into Obviously, Mega Man is
Mm.
massive. I know it's got a big following on obviously Nintendo.
Nintendo. Yeah.
I think some of the most expensive games on the SNES. There's some that are like £1,000 on Mega Man games, completing their box according to the CX app. But they are actually really good games.
Mm.
On both of these, I've done CEX roulettes for them. I've done some gameplay, and I was really impressed with them, to be honest. And yeah, really, really happy. I mean, I haven't played through them yet.
Mm.
I touched recently on one of my videos that I haven't had much time because of all the boot sales and stuff like that, and I want to kind of
Mm.
take a step back from the boot sales and play more, because there are loads of these games that I want to play through, but just
Mm.
not at the time. But yeah, really, really cool. That's still, I think that's still £260 in CEX
Wow.
vouchers.
Yeah.
And then the last game is Mega Man Legends on again
Classic.
PlayStation 1.
Mm.
And I think that's, how much is that? I can't remember. I think it may be 250. I think it's
Yeah.
£250 CX vouchers. So, I've got again, like it's silly, but what's that? Those four games there are like,
It's a bit
over
of grand's worth, isn't it? Yeah.
£1,000 sort of thing.
Mm.
But my it's not one of the most expensive games, but this is the reason that I got into uh, collecting, or doing what I'm doing, sort of thing
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
house. It's Cooler World on the PlayStation 1.
Right. I think. Yeah. I've seen
It,
that before. I don't think I've ever played it, but
it's a beach ball puzzle game, basically.
right. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see the back of it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, me and my older brother, when we was kids, we didn't come from the most affluent background, should we say. I grew up on a council estate. It was me and my brother and mum. We had a PlayStation 1 and we couldn't afford all of the games. So, but what my mum did buy for us was demos. So
Yeah. Yeah. They
we
used
would
to.
always,
I remember them. Yeah.
yeah. So
I know people that still collect them. Actually. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So we would have obviously loads of demos to play through. So this was a game that I don't know why, it was kind of like we was like hypnotized by it. Honestly, if you look at it, it's not a great game.
Mm.
I believe they made a remake of it on the PlayStation 4, but yeah, it's like a 3D puzzle. You're a beach ball and you obviously go around the map, but the map can go upside down and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, there is a few games like
Yeah,
that in there. Yeah.
but basically, me and my brother, we was banging into this, and we was never able to get a copy of it, obviously as kids. And then when I was young, when I was older, maybe about 10 years ago, something like that, I was like, I'm going to get a PlayStation 1. I'm going to buy a Cooler World. And I remember
Yeah.
looking, I remember looking at the time on eBay, and Cooler World even then was maybe like £50, something like that. And
Jesus.
I was thinking for a PlayStation 1 game,
Yeah.
but again, I believe it's just because it didn't have a good print run.
It's a bit of a sort of cult, a bit like a cult
Yeah,
classic, isn't it? Yeah.
that. And like even when I started collecting, like my older brother, he's not into games like I am. But even what I told him, I was like, Luke, I've bought Cooler World. And he was like, shut up, no, you ain't. I was like, yeah. And he come round and like was having a go
Sash, yeah,
with me as well, sort of thing. So
yeah, man. But
and yeah,
that's what it's all about, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think that little story then, that's exactly why I think we do it. I mean, that's you know,
yeah.
I mean, that's
And
kind of what it's all about, isn't it?
and again, that's why obviously I started flipping at the boot sales and stuff like that. This was literally the first game that I bought with my first lot of CEX vouchers.
That's
Cooler
brilliant.
World.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
yeah, managed to get it come with the manual and everything. At that time, I was unaware of the whole CEX roulette. Um,
Yeah,
what's the word, like concept sort of thing. I just ordered it thinking it was going to come with a manual. It
maybe
come with a manual, and it wasn't until like later on that all these games were turning up with cracked cases and no manuals. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. So I lucked out
Jesus.
first one round.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like those sort of things. You know, like my. Anyway, yeah, I remember like one of the early memories of mine was sort of like on the Commodore 64.
Mm.
Because I remember me and my mate, we used to have like sleepovers and stuff like that, and we used to play like winter games, and or it was just like you know like the sort of Olympic stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
cool.
I've recently just got it on like the Commodore 64 MIDI, and it was such an amazing like the. Do you know what I mean? I could even remember like we're probably going back 37 years. You know what I mean? Mental. And I remember first time booting it up just recently, like the music, I remembered it all. I remembered like the events. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like what sort of does it. You know what I mean? But I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can remember
definitely.
me and him like breaking joysticks over that and like, you know what I mean? Just to try and get this extra, I don't know, whatever it was, 1 meter on the ski jump or something. You know, it sort of tested our friendship on a couple of occasions.
Storming out of sleepovers.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
it was the sort of what it was all about, wasn't it, back then? But
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's quite a few games that I've got in my collection where when I get them out, it's like core memory unlocked and influx of dopamine sort of thing. It's just like
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what nostalgia is, I suppose, to a certain extent. It's just unlocking those memories and making you feel all warm and fuzzy, remembering them.
so yeah, definitely, yeah. So sort of going back to like your YouTube and that, you know, like amazing growth. I mean, brilliant channel. You've obviously, I think, like I said to you, what you've kind of done sort of differently from everyone else is that, or from a lot of people, is that you're going after the kind of big hitters and like the real massive titles that people want to see and everything like that. So that I think is that's kind of like a little sort of niche and in
Yeah.
itself. Do you know what I mean? That sort of separates from some of the other channels. But I mean, for those that don't know, there was a video recently,
Mhm.
and you don't have to talk about it here because I know you've talked about it on your channel, but there was a little video recently where like obviously something had happened, and
Mhm.
you're kind of like saying now, I'm not stopping, obviously by any means. You're going to carry on,
Mhm.
but you maybe just going to have a little rethink,
Yeah,
possibly
yeah,
change paths, change the strategy a little bit, or do you want to kind of like
yeah,
let
yeah. No,
people in on
definitely.
that?
I mean, yeah, like I say in that video, obviously, anyone who goes to boot sales knows about the whole vulture culture sort of thing.
Yeah.
Should we say?
Mm.
You've got to be in people's boots. You got any games, all of that sort of thing, and you got to be a bit cutthroat. And there's been instances where I've watched my footage back, and it, you know, you I think I'm kind of like disgusted in myself for how I've acted, although it's nowhere near as bad as what other
Mm.
people do. But
Mm.
you think like someone like there was recently I someone was looking at some games and I kind of like leant to the side and grabbed one out as but these games were like on on their stall, shall we say. It weren't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was looking for a bag on their own sort of thing.
Mm.
And I watched it back and I said in the footage that I was sorry, blah blah blah. And I actually bumped into that guy a couple of weeks later, and he said that he watches my channel, and he was like, you no need to apologise. I weren't looking at those games or something like that, or I know how it is.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, obviously that like that, you have got to kind of be cutthroat, should we say, to be successful because there's people that I go to my boot sales that I see all of the time, and I always see them with like rare games and stuff like that, because they are literally every car that turns up. As soon as they get out of the car,
Oh, they
you
want
got
it. Mm.
they're in the boot sort of thing, and I just can't be about that. And obviously, where I'm at a stage now where I've got a lot of the games that I want. Obviously, no collection is ever complete,
Mm.
but I definitely don't need to be. I don't need to be as competitive, should we say? So I'm not fussed if I miss something here or I miss something there. Um, and for my own personal life as well, what people don't realize, or don't see behind the camera, is obviously I'm down to CEX 3 times a week sometimes,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
luckily I've got 3 CEX stores near me. But there's a lot of traveling to them to trade stuff in.
Mm.
Uh, I normally go on a Friday after work, to do half of it, and then Saturday to a different
You got to
CEX.
pick your time right with CEX tradings, don't you? I mean, I haven't done it yet, but when I go in there to buy, I see the people with just like their stuff, and I'm like, oh god, what I mean. Sometimes I'm behind them. I don't want to buy one game, you know what I mean? But yeah,
But yeah, definitely, and it ain't just a case of. I mean, I know you can do the drop and go, shall we say? But where I trade in a lot of electronics, they have to test them.
yeah,
And all of the CX stores, although they're not far from me, they're all about a 20-minute drive. I think I've got 3 within half-hour drive from me. Last thing I want to do is drop them off. They call me up and say, oh, by the way, a controller's failed, and then I've got to drive back.
yeah,
So I
exactly, yeah,
hang about in town, check the charity shops or whatever. But it's always like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Do you know
mm.
what I mean? So there's that side of it that I've kind of, wanting to take a step back from. I don't want to have to do 2 or even 3 trips to CX in a week to trade all of my stuff in. So
Mm.
it's not that I'm completely taking a step back from it. I want to be more selective. I want to, make sure that what I'm doing is I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
Uh, and then, yeah, like I was saying, I want to do more gameplay, because I've got all of these games, but I haven't got time to play them at the minute,
yeah,
because,
exactly. Mm.
as you probably know, editing footage that can take hours upon hours. So
It can take hours. People don't realise it can take hours for like a 10-minute video, can't it? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just to edit.
definitely.
Mm.
But I would say because my videos are normally around 20 minutes, and I probably do and maybe an hour to edit all of the footage on the GoPro,
Mm.
and obviously I film my recap, which can take 10 to 15 minutes, and then obviously I have to edit that, put it all together, and then you have to like render it. That can take
Mm. Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, upload it, and or
Mm.
you can, when you and then obviously I have to rewatch all of my film.
Yeah, to make sure that you,
There's
yeah,
no errors and stuff like that. So it all takes time. So as much as I love doing it, at the end of the day, I don't want it to become like a second job. If
mm.
that makes sense. I want
Oh
it
no,
to.
you got to enjoy what you're doing.
Mm,
Absolutely. I mean, I think about. I mean, I've done a little bit of like car boot footage. I don't want to become like a car boot channel. I do a lot of flipping and everything like that. And
okay.
I don't just sell video games. I mean, I buy anything,
Hmm.
anything
Yeah.
that if it's a fiver and I can flip it into 20 or 30, then I'll do it, and I will show it. Probably isn't interesting for a lot of people, but it shows how to build up pots, and then
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want to use that, and you can go ahead and buy your collection or whatever. But I like, I mean, I admire you guys that walk around with these cameras on your chair. I mean, I bought a little crappy one off Amazon,
Mm,
and it was like terrible little thing, and even that's quite kind of like discreet. It's
mm.
not. I'm not obviously wearing it. Do you know what I mean? It's quite discreet. Discreet. And I've had it a couple of times where people have sort of, what are you doing? Are you filming my stall? Like you, and I'm like, dude, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to sort of explain to them, what it is. I've got a little channel. I'm just filming your stuff. We buy collectibles and everything like that. But I don't know if you've sort of ever
Yeah.
come
No. I
across.
mean,
You must have.
yeah. Yeah. Of course, I've had people say this and that. I mean, I've got kind of like a little joke that I say now, and it obviously they probably maybe don't realise that it's a joke at first, but when someone says, "Oh, what's the camera for?" and I'll say, "I work for HMRC. I'm recording everything, making sure people are declaring
Yeah.
everything." And then they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "No,
Jesus, quickly
no,
pack up. We're in the car. Gone.
no." So yeah, kind of like rate that, and then I go, "No, no, I'm only joking." And
Yeah,
I mean, what helps me as well is I normally have my jumper on that says Retro Rummage, so I
yeah,
just
yeah.
my YouTube channel,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
and
yeah,
nine
yeah.
times out of ten,
They don't really. Yeah, they're not bothered, are they?
people are not bothered. They're actually a lot of people are interested as well. It it probably helps as well that when they say, "Oh, how many subscribers you got?" and rather than say I've got 17 or something,
Yeah, at least you got a bit of a
yeah, give
backing.
it a decent number sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it probably helps. But I find that the people that maybe have had the biggest problem with it um, are resellers in themselves, sort of thing. Or not, maybe not. Yeah, well, people, like basically where it's their business sort of thing.
Yeah. Mm.
I've had, I've only ever had someone to tell me to turn the camera off once. That was when I first started out, and I said, "Well, no." But I said, do you run the boot sale then?" And I was like, "Nah, just don't film any of my stuff." And I was like, "All right, well, I
Mm.
won't film stuff. I'm not like turning my camera off."
No. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they was like, "Yeah, go away," sort of thing, which I thought was really weird. But
It is a bit weird, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
what do
yeah,
they think you're going to do with the footage? It's just
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just a bit weird, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
Obviously, I always explain, "Don't worry, you're not
Mm.
on it."
Mm.
Um, it's pointing down, sort of thing. But apart from that, I've never had, never had any negative.
No, that's fine. I mean, I've asked a couple of people if because I've stopped sort of doing the whole kind of camera thing, but if I've seen a really interesting stall, I'm going to buy a load of stuff off him. I've
Mm,
kind of asked the bloke, look, do you mind if I just take a quick pan and I'm going to have a little rummage around. I'm going to buy a few of these bits. Do you mind if
yeah,
I just get my phone out and film it? And they never mind. Yeah, that's fine, mate. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But, okay, cool. So at least you're definitely not stopping. You're going to carry
No,
on.
no,
We're
no,
just
no.
going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
like,
Carrying on.
you know,
And just to add to that as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Another thing, what people have done in the past, especially resellers, is when they notice the camera, and if I ask us how much something is, they'll say like 10, 15, 20 pound or something. Someone recently said to me, there was like a calculator, and I said, how much for the calculator? And obviously this is a reseller, and he was like £20. It's like £20. Was that for one of them? And he was like, "Well, yeah, if you didn't have the camera on it, it'd be £4 or
really.
something." He said something like that. So,
Uh,
if anything, it's probably detrimental to me trying to get a bargain because people probably know what I'm interested
I
in. Is
think that is why I
well,
kind of stopped doing it a little bit. I felt a bit like that when I started doing it. I felt like people were kind of looking at me
yeah,
thinking, I know what the value of all this stuff is. So therefore, they're going to try and, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
might
no,
be a bit
definitely,
weird, but that's kind of why I stopped doing it, and I still sort of show the stuff, but obviously people, they take it, if they want to believe it or not. But yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we're kind of going to wrap up now. We've sort of we've sort of overshot what we originally said, but um,
Very waffling.
anyway, no, some cool stuff. So I always want to kind of end on this. You've probably been asked this loads of times before. You might have even shown it already, or it might be something different. But let's say some sort of fictional event has happened,
Mhm.
and you have to sell your whole collection tomorrow, but you're
Yeah,
allowed to keep one item. Okay, what would
yeah,
that item be?
yeah. Well, I think I touched on it earlier. It would definitely be cooler world. I wouldn't
Yes.
sell that. I keep that. Probably, yeah. Maybe shouldn't have spoiled it, but it's such a, like I say, it's a memory for PlayStation One. It's a memory with my brother, and again, it's the reason that I started doing what I do because I wanted to be able to afford that game for cheaper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh, that's brilliant.
yeah, but I mean, apart from that, my yeah, I don't think I can add to that. I think yeah, definitely be cooler world. Apologies for maybe that being a bit anticlimactic because I spoke about it earlier, but yeah, definitely cooler world.
Sometimes it's not about the value; it's about like you say, the nostalgic value, the stuff that can't be sort of. It's not a monetary thing, is it? Like you
Yeah,
say, that's the reason why you've got that shelf full of absolute banging titles behind you. Really, it's kind of like got you back into it,
yeah,
everything
definitely.
like that. So, I just want to wrap up by saying thanks very much. It's been a really, really cool chat.
And
Some amazing titles for everyone. I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but if you don't, we're going to drop the YouTube channel below, Retro Rummage. Is there anywhere else where people can find you?
I use my Instagram quite a bit, which is what is it? Retro underscore rummage
Yeah.
underscore. or at retro underscore
We'll put the
rummage.
link up. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's been it's been really cool. Obviously speaking about my games and stuff like that. Hopefully, I didn't come across too too weird, but yeah, hopefully
Mate,
people.
we're all weird. That's the whole point. That's why I
Yeah,
want to talk to these people because I didn't want to be the only weirdo. Do you know what I mean? We're all
that's
weird doing
it.
this.
Get us together.
Exactly. Okay, mate. Cheers. Thanks very
No
much.
worries. Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
watching,
Cheers.
and we'll see you on the next one.